Welcome back, everyone, for another deep dive. This time we're going to be looking at something really fascinating, the intersection of quantum physics and the human mind.
Oh, yeah.
You know, you sent us some excerpts from Joe Dispenza's work,
Right.
and honestly, some of these ideas are truly mind-blowing. I mean,
That's wild
it
stuff.
really got me thinking, like, what if our thoughts could actually shape reality?
That's really one of the core ideas that Dispenza keeps coming back to. And
Hmm.
what's really interesting is how he brings science and spirituality together. He's a
Yeah.
chiropractor by training,
Right.
but he goes deep into neuroscience, quantum physics, even ancient wisdom traditions.
Wow.
He's really trying to figure out how we can, unlock our full potential.
Before we get too far into that, though, can we just take a step back for a second?
Sure.
For our listeners who may not be familiar with this stuff, can you give us a little context?
Yeah, absolutely.
Like, how did we even get to these mind-bending ideas about quantum physics?
So, for centuries, the Newtonian model of the universe, that was it. That was the big idea.
Right.
The universe as this giant clockwork machine, everything predictable, everything calculated.
Yeah.
But then along comes Einstein with his theory of relativity,
Hmm.
and suddenly time and space aren't absolute anymore.
Yeah.
They're relative to the observer.
Right.
And that just blew open a whole new way of thinking about the universe.
So how did that lead us to quantum physics? Honestly, even the name sounds intimidating.
It's like this. As scientists started to explore the really, really small stuff like subatomic particles,
Uh-huh.
they realized that the rules of classical physics just didn't apply down there.
Yeah.
It's like they entered a whole different realm where the familiar laws of the world just broke down.
So things get a little weird at the subatomic level.
To put it mildly,
Okay.
one of the biggest things they discovered is this idea of wave-particle duality.
I've heard of that.
It means that those tiny particles, like electrons, can act like waves and particles at the same time. It's like they exist in this state of potentiality, this
Wow.
blurry in-betweenness, until they're observed.
Wait, so you're saying that just by observing something, we actually affect how it behaves?
That's the idea behind the observer effect. It's one of the cornerstones of quantum physics.
Hmm.
And it suggests that consciousness, just the act of observation, actually plays a role in collapsing the wave function of a particle and deciding what state it takes.
Wow, that's pretty wild. So we're not just passive observers, we're actually shaping reality by observing it. That's a pretty big shift from how most of us see the world.
It is, and this is where Dispenza's work comes in.
Okay.
He takes these mind-boggling ideas from quantum physics and he applies them to the human mind.
Right.
He says that we have the ability to create our own reality.
I see where he's going with this. So if our thoughts can affect how tiny particles behave, maybe they can affect our reality on a larger scale too.
Exactly. Dispenza says we're all immersed in this field of energy, the sea of infinite possibilities. He calls it the quantum field.
So it's like a cosmic ocean of potential.
That's a great way to put it. And just like a wave in the ocean, our thoughts and emotions create ripples in this field. They affect the probabilities and shape the reality we experience.
But how does that actually work? I mean, I'm having tons of thoughts right now, and
Yeah.
I'm not exactly seeing reality bending to my will.
Well, according to Dispenza, it's not about just thinking a thought once or twice. It's about cultivating a state of being. You need a coherent frequency that resonates with the reality you want.
Mhm.
You have to align your thoughts, feelings, and actions to create a strong enough energetic signal that can actually influence the quantum field.
So it's more than just positive thinking. You have to really feel it and act on it too.
Exactly. Dispenza talks about training the body to believe in the future we want.
Interesting.
It means shifting our mindset and our emotions to match that desired reality, even before we see it in the physical world.
Okay, so if I'm understanding this right, our thoughts create electrical signals that interact with this quantum field.
Yes, and our emotions add a magnetic charge to those signals.
Okay.
Essentially, they attract events back to us.
This reminds me of something I've always been fascinated by, those moments of synchronicity, those weird coincidences that seem to be pointing you in a certain direction. Could that be connected to this quantum field somehow?
Dispenza believes so, yeah.
Okay.
He draws on Carl Jung's work here. Jung is the one who coined the term synchronicity to describe these meaningful coincidences.
Right.
Jung believed they weren't just random, but reflected a deeper order in the universe,
Mm.
a kind of underlying interconnectedness.
So if we're all connected to this quantum field and our thoughts and emotions can influence it,
Right.
maybe we're creating these synchronicities ourselves without even realizing it.
It's a fascinating possibility. What if those synchronicities are whispers from the universe, nudges in the right direction?
I love that idea.
They could be responding to our energetic alignment with our desires.
It's both humbling and empowering at the same time.
Oh,
Okay, I got to play devil's advocate for a second.
sure.
If it were that easy to manifest our desires, wouldn't everyone be living their dream life?
That's a valid point.
Yeah.
And Dispenza acknowledges it's not always a simple process.
Right?
He emphasizes the importance of alignment between our thoughts, feelings, and actions. If you're sending mixed signals to the quantum field,
Like wanting abundance but feeling scarcity.
exactly, you might not get the results you want.
So we need to be more aware of our internal state and make sure our thoughts and feelings are in sync with our goals.
That's the key. That's where things like meditation, visualization, and gratitude come in. These techniques can help us become more mindful of our thoughts and emotions and consciously shift them to align with the reality we want.
Makes sense. Speaking of gratitude, Dispenza seems to really emphasize that emotion.
Yeah.
What's the connection between gratitude and the quantum field?
He believes that gratitude is essential for shifting our energetic frequency and attracting more of what we want. He says that when we genuinely appreciate what we already have, we send a powerful signal to the universe that we're ready to receive more abundance.
So it's not just about feeling good, it's about creating an energetic state that attracts more positive experiences.
Exactly. Gratitude helps us move out of a mindset of lack and into a mindset of abundance, which aligns us with the limitless possibilities of the quantum field.
Wow, we've covered a lot already, from the history of how we understand the universe to the crazy concepts of quantum physics and the observer effect. And we started to see how these ideas might connect to our ability to shape our own reality.
And this is really just the beginning. There's so much more to explore in terms of the practical applications of these principles.
Before we jump into that, I'm really curious about this idea of living in the future. Dispenza talks about shifting our consciousness to align with our desired future, but how can we possibly live in a time that hasn't happened yet?
Does sound a bit paradoxical, doesn't it?
It does.
But when you remember that quantum physics challenges our usual ideas about linear time,
Right.
it starts to make a little more sense. Dispenza isn't saying we're literally traveling through time. It's more about shifting our consciousness to align with our desired future, almost like mentally and emotionally inhabiting that reality now.
Yeah.
It is kind of like we're stepping into that future reality now,
Mm-hmm.
at least in our minds and emotions.
So it's not just daydreaming about the future. We're actually creating a new energetic blueprint for it in the quantum field.
Yeah, that's a great way to think about it. When we vividly imagine and emotionally embrace our desired future, we're sending a powerful signal out there, setting a new trajectory for our reality. Dispenza says that by holding that vision in our minds and hearts, we start to draw in circumstances, people, even opportunities that resonate with that future state.
That's an interesting thought. But what about our present experience? If we're so focused on the future, are we missing out on the now?
It's a balance, right? Dispenza doesn't say we should ignore the present. It's more about enriching our present experience with the energy and intention of our desired future. It's like planting seeds in the present, seeds that will grow in the future.
I like that analogy.
As we continue to nurture those seeds with our thoughts, feelings, and actions, we start to see those sprouts of our future reality emerging in our lives right now.
It suggests that there's this back and forth between the present and the future.
Right.
That what we choose to do now can really affect where our lives are headed.
Exactly. And as we align our thoughts, feelings, and actions with our desired future, we might start noticing those synchronicities popping up, those opportunities guiding us towards our goals.
Oh, yeah.
Dispenza suggests that these synchronicities aren't just random coincidences, but meaningful signs that we're on the right path.
So those synchronicities are like feedback from the universe,
Think of it that way.
letting us know that we're aligned with our highest potential.
Exactly. It's validation, even if we can't see the whole picture yet.
This is all pretty fascinating, but gotta be honest, it's a lot to process. I'm curious what Dispenza says about our physical bodies in all of this. It seems very mind-centric, this whole idea of creating reality.
Oh, he addresses that directly. He's big on the connection between our thoughts, emotions, and our physical bodies.
Okay.
He says our cells are always listening to our inner dialogue, responding to our beliefs and expectations. Our biology is deeply intertwined with our thoughts and feelings.
Hold on, you're saying my cells are literally listening to my thoughts.
In a way, yes. Our thoughts and emotions, they create these energetic signals that go through our bodies,
Ah,
affecting everything at a cellular level. If we're constantly dwelling on fear, worry, or self-doubt,
hmm.
our cells get that message loud and clear and they respond accordingly. It can create stress, even disease.
So stress isn't just in our heads.
It's a physiological reality impacting our health at a cellular level.
And on the flip side, if we're cultivating those positive emotions, gratitude, joy, love, we're sending a completely different message to ourselves,
Mm-hmm.
which can promote healing, well-being, even vitality.
Right. It's
It's like
amazing.
the mind-body connection we hear about, but with a quantum twist.
Exactly. Dispenza is saying that our minds and bodies aren't separate, but two sides of the same coin.
Hmm.
They're interwoven, constantly affecting each other.
So it's not just about positive thinking.
It goes way deeper.
It's about creating a harmonious internal environment that actually supports our well-being on a physical level.
That's it. It's about recognizing that our minds have this incredible power to affect our biology
Hmm.
and using that knowledge to create a reality that supports our health and happiness.
This all makes sense conceptually, but I'm sure some of our listeners are like, okay, but where's the proof?
Right. Show me the receipts.
Does Dispenza have any real-life stories, examples of people who've actually used these principles and seen real changes?
Oh, absolutely. His work is full of these inspiring stories of people overcoming incredible challenges, from chronic illnesses to debilitating injuries.
Right.
By tapping into the power of their minds and emotions, he talks about this woman who healed herself from a severe autoimmune disorder
Wow.
just by consistently visualizing her body as healthy and whole.
Mhm.
And then there's this man who recovered from a spinal injury that doctors said he'd never walk again.
No way.
He mentally rehearsed walking over and over again, and eventually he did walk again.
Those are remarkable stories, like the power of belief combined with a deep understanding of the mind-body connection can actually shift our physical reality.
It really makes you wonder what we're all capable of,
Hmm.
about the untapped potential that's inside each of us.
I gotta ask, what about the science behind all of this? Is there any evidence to support these claims? It does sound a bit like magic, even though Dispenza seems to be grounding these ideas in scientific principles.
Right, he does try to back it up. And there is a growing body of research. Fields like epigenetics, psychoneuroimmunology, even quantum biology.
Mm.
They're finding evidence for the mind-body connection and the influence of consciousness on matter.
Can you give us some examples?
Yeah, for sure. Studies have shown that things like meditation and mindfulness can actually change gene expression, reduce inflammation, and boost immune function.
Wow, real?
And then there's the placebo effect, which shows how powerful belief can be.
Right.
It can create real physiological changes in the body, even when there's no physical intervention.
So even just believing that something will heal us can trigger real healing processes.
Exactly. That's the power of the mind at work.
This is all incredible, but honestly, I still have trouble wrapping my head around the quantum field. It feels so abstract and intangible. Is there a way to understand it more concretely?
I get it. It is a tough concept. It
Yeah.
challenges our everyday understanding of reality. Try to imagine the quantum field as this vast ocean of energy,
Oh, God.
constantly vibrating, pulsating with potential. And within this ocean, there are countless waves of possibility, each representing a different outcome or experience.
So it's like this invisible sea of potential all around us.
Yeah.
And our thoughts and emotions are like ripples in that ocean, influencing which waves become real in our lives.
That's a beautiful way to visualize it. Our thoughts and emotions act like energetic magnets, attracting circumstances and experiences that match their frequency.
Okay, that makes a little more sense. So if we want to change our reality, we need to change the frequency of our thoughts and emotions.
You got it. It's about shifting our internal state to align with the reality we want.
This all feels so empowering. It's like we're not just along for the ride in this life, but active co-creators of our experience.
That's what's so amazing about these quantum principles. They remind us that we have so much more power and control than we often realize.
I'm excited to hear more about how we can actually use these ideas in our daily lives. What specific steps can we take to harness this quantum power and create the reality we dream of?
That's the million-dollar question.
Yeah. And it's one we'll dig into with the next part of our deep dive.
Perfect.
We'll explore some practical techniques and practices that can help us tap into the quantum field and make our dreams a reality.
Okay, so let's get down to brass tacks. We've been exploring these amazing concepts of quantum physics and the mind,
Right.
but I know our listeners are probably thinking, how can I actually use this stuff in my life?
Exactly. It's all well and good to understand the theory,
Right.
but the real magic happens when we put it into practice. Dispenza lays out a kind of formula for creating reality, and it all begins with awareness.
So what does he mean by awareness exactly?
Well, he says that most of us are living on autopilot,
Hmm.
not even aware of the mental and emotional patterns that are shaping our reality.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So the first step is just to hit pause on those habitual thought patterns
Okay.
and start paying attention to what's happening in our minds.
So it's about tuning into our inner world, like really paying attention to our thoughts and feelings without judging them. You got it. Things like meditation and journaling can be super helpful for this.
Right.
Meditation quiets the mind and gives us space to observe, while journaling helps us get those thoughts and emotions out of our heads and onto paper.
Okay, so once we've become more aware of what's going on inside, what's the next step?
Then it's time to consciously start shifting our thoughts and emotions to match the reality we want.
Okay,
That's where techniques like visualization and affirmations come in.
got it.
Instead of focusing on what we don't want,
Right.
we can shift our attention to what we do want, create a clear vision of our desired future.
So instead of replaying those old mental movies of scarcity and struggle,
Yeah,
we're creating new ones full of abundance and possibility.
exactly. Visualization is all about engaging all our senses, creating a rich, immersive experience of our desired reality in our mind's eye. It's like a mental rehearsal for the life we want to live.
What about affirmations? Where do they fit into this?
Affirmations are those positive statements
Right, I've heard of those.
that reinforce our desired beliefs and outcomes.
Okay.
They help to reprogram our subconscious mind, replacing limiting beliefs with empowering ones.
I like that.
It's like we're speaking the language of possibility,
Yeah.
both to ourselves and to the universe.
So it's not just about thinking positive, it's about embedding that positivity into our language and beliefs.
Absolutely. It's about aligning our thoughts, feelings, and actions with the reality we want to create,
Right.
sending a powerful, consistent signal that the universe can respond to.
This brings us back to gratitude again.
Right.
Dispenza seems to really emphasize that emotion. I'm noticing a pattern here.
He does, and there's a reason for it. Gratitude is such a powerful emotion.
It is.
It shifts us from a focus on lack to a focus on abundance. It helps us appreciate what we have,
Right.
which makes us open to receiving even more. When we cultivate genuine appreciation,
Yeah.
we're basically telling the universe that we're ready for more.
So it's not just about being grateful for the big things, it's about finding gratitude in everyday moments.
Exactly. It's about changing our perspective to see the abundance that's already all around us, even in the little things.
Right.
Savoring those simple pleasures, appreciating the beauty in nature,
Yeah.
acknowledging the kindness of others.
I love the idea of making gratitude a daily practice. It seems like such a simple but powerful way to shift our energy and attract more good stuff into our lives.
Dispenza recommends making it a ritual. Take some time every day to reflect on the things you're grateful for.
Okay.
Really feel those feelings of appreciation in your heart. You can write them down in a journal, tell a friend, or just quietly think about them.
We've been talking a lot about the mind,
We have.
but what about the heart? How does that factor into this whole quantum equation?
Dispenza talks about the heart as this powerful electromagnetic generator, even stronger than the brain.
Wow, really?
He suggests that when we cultivate heartfelt emotions like gratitude, love, and compassion,
We create a more coherent energy field,
right.
which can actually influence the quantum field.
So it's not enough to just think the right thoughts. We have to feel them deeply in our hearts.
Exactly. It's about cultivating what he calls heart coherence,
Interesting.
where our heart and brain are in sync, creating this powerful, harmonious energy that radiates outward.
I think it's important to approach this with both intention and surrender.
Yeah,
We can set clear intentions for what we want to create,
absolutely.
but also trust that the universe will handle the details in its own way.
That's a beautiful way to put it. It's a dance between effort and allowing.
Right.
We can do the work meditation, visualization, gratitude, but ultimately we have to let go and trust that the universe knows what it's doing.
This has been such an inspiring and thought-provoking conversation. As we wrap up this deep dive, what parting words of wisdom would you like to leave our listeners with?
Well, if it's true that our thoughts and emotions can shape reality,
then each of us has this incredible power to create a life filled with purpose, joy, and abundance. It's a journey of self-discovery.
It is.
And it starts with understanding the profound connection between our minds, our bodies, and the quantum field.
Thank you so much for sharing your insights with us today. I know our listeners are going to find these ideas truly inspiring.
My pleasure. Remember, you have the power to create a life that truly reflects your deepest desires.
That's a great reminder.
Embrace the wonder of the quantum realm. Keep exploring, keep questioning, and dive deep into the infinite possibilities that are waiting for you.
Until next time, keep exploring.